The Galactic Council had sent 17 different species to study humanity's rise to dominance. None had expected the answer to lie in something as mundane as tied laces. Hannah Cole stood in the observation dome of the Nexus station, watching a group of Velthrian cubs tumble over each other in zero gravity. Their fur rippled with bioluminescent patterns, confusion in shades of orange and purple. She smiled. Today's lesson was going to be interesting. "All right, everyone settle down," Hannah called out, activating the artificial gravity in the training section. The cubs dropped gently to the floor, their 6 limbs splaying out for balance. "Today we're learning something very human, something that changed everything for us." The cubs chittered excitedly. Velthrians were naturally curious, which made them excellent students but terrible at following instructions. One cub in particular, Ricky, bounced forward, his ear tufts quivering. "Is it the fire stick? The boom weapon? The faster-than-light engine?" "No, Ricky," Hannah said, kneeling down and pulling out a simple canvas shoe. "We're learning how to tie knots." The chittering stopped. 17 pairs of luminescent eyes stared at her in what she could only interpret as profound disappointment. "Knots?" Ricky's patterns shifted to a dull gray, the Velthrian equivalent of a confused frown. "The apex predators of the galaxy? Tie things?" "Not just tie things," Hannah said, threading the laces through her fingers. "We secure things. We connect things. We make temporary bonds that hold under stress but can be undone when needed. Watch." Her fingers moved through the familiar pattern. Loop, wrap, pull through, tighten. A perfect bow materialized in seconds. The cubs leaned in, their patterns flickering with renewed interest. "Your species uses molecular bonding or magnetic locks," Hannah explained. "Permanent or energy-dependent. Humans, we figured out how to make rope hold itself together with nothing but geometry and friction. Then we conquered our planet with it." Over the next hour, Hannah demonstrated 12 basic knots. The cubs tried to mimic her movements with varying degrees of success. Their extra limbs actually made it harder. Too many appendages reaching for the same piece of rope. Ricky, however, had taken to the lesson with unexpected enthusiasm. Unfortunately, his interpretation was creative. "Teacher Hannah," another cub called out. Ricky tied Mara's tail to the support beam. Hannah looked up to find Mara dangling upside down, her tail secured to the ceiling with what appeared to be a modified bowline knot. Impressive, actually. "Ricky, we tie shoes, not other cubs." "But you said practice," Ricky protested, his patterns flashing defensive yellow. "Mara's tail is like a rope." By the end of the week, the situation had escalated beautifully. Ricky had tied the door to the supply closet shut with a figure-8 knot so perfect it took Hannah 20 minutes to undo. He'd secured all the floating data tablets together in a chain using sheet bends. He'd even managed to tie the station commander's spare uniform into a hammock configuration that, admittedly, looked quite comfortable. The only thing Ricky hadn't tied were his shoes. "I don't understand," Commander Thex growled, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "You're teaching them primitive survival skills, and they're using them to commit acts of minor chaos." "They're learning," Hannah said calmly, "just horizontally." The breakthrough came during a station emergency. A coolant line ruptured in Section 7, spewing superheated vapor into the corridor. The automatic sealant systems failed, a consequence of the station's aging infrastructure. Crew members evacuated while engineers scrambled to find replacement parts. Ricky appeared in the doorway of the training room, his patterns blazing urgent red. "Teacher Hannah, the hot mist is escaping." Hannah grabbed her emergency kit and ran. When she arrived at Section 7, she found all 17 Velthrian cubs already there, dragging spare pressure suits and emergency blankets from nearby lockers. "What are you—" "We tie it shut," Ricky announced, "like you showed us." What followed was the most beautiful improvisation Hannah had ever witnessed. The cubs worked together with instinctive coordination, their multiple limbs advantage now fully apparent. They wrapped pressure-resistant fabric around the ruptured pipe, securing it with half hitches and trucker's hitches. When one section bulged, another cub reinforced it with a constrictor knot. Ricky scurried up the wall, his claws finding purchase on the metal, and secured the top section with a taut line hitch that adjusted perfectly to the pipe's vibrations. In 15 minutes, they created a temporary seal that held until engineering arrived with proper equipment. Commander Thex stared at the improvised repair, his mandibles slack. They tied a coolant leak shut. They adapted, Hana said proudly. That's what knots teach you. Not just how to follow a pattern, but how to solve problems with simple tools and creative thinking. Humans didn't conquer Earth because we were the strongest or fastest. We did it because we could take a piece of vine and turn it into a tool, a trap, a shelter, or a bridge. We saw potential connections everywhere. The cubs clustered around her, their patterns now cycling through proud gold and satisfied blue. Even Ricky looked pleased with himself. So, Thex said slowly, when do they learn to tie their actual shoes? Ricky looked down at his bare paws, then at Hana, his patterns flickering sheepish green. Oh, I forgot we were supposed to tie those. Hana laughed. Next week, Ricky. Next week. As the cubs filed back to the training room, Hana heard Ricky whisper to Mara, but tying shoes is boring. Did you see how the commander's face looked when we fixed the pipe? That's what knots are really for. Perhaps, Hana thought, he understood the lesson better than she'd given him credit for. Humanity hadn't mastered the galaxy with perfection. They'd done it with adaptability, creativity, and the stubborn refusal to use tools only for their intended purpose. The cubs had learned that lesson perfectly,